Welcome to our third Q&A for Chain Attack. This Q&A is sponsored by Patreon subscribers who've made this possible for me to be able to do this. So tonight we're going to answer some questions from a few Patreon subscribers, some that I got from Twitter and a few other places. This stream is sponsored also by Discount Games, Muson Minis. Table Ready Terrain did all the terrain that I'm using here. Muson Minis did these mousepad trees and trenches. So support our sponsors. They're good for the community. They do a lot for all of us. So I appreciate anything you can do for them. This mat is made by Frontline Gaming. You can get those at discountgamesinc.com as well. So the first question we're going to go over tonight is one by David Wally, one of our Patreon supporters, and he asked, could you discuss cavalry tactics more in depth, mainly impact attacks and ride-by attacks, also as when is it best to use these attacks? So I had someone else ask me to cover some stuff about trolls, so we're going to cover some troll stuff as well. So to start with, we're going to use some long riders here. And this is probably one of the things that I see most newer players misuse the most. So here we have long riders. They're 11 points. They're a huge investment, and a lot of times people overcommit with them and lose them too early, and they're only 5 attacks base. We'll show ways that you can improve upon that, but if you don't get enough out of them, if they don't do work over multiple turns, they're going to be a wasted choice for you. And honestly, my advice to you would be is if you don't feel like you're getting points out of cavalry, just don't take them. There's really no need. You don't have to have cavalry. They do some cool things, but they're not required. So if you're not willing to either take the time or not willing, or you're not able to figure it out, then you probably should just take something else instead. So I'm going to use some. This is sort of a interesting example, but I'm going to use some NIS here to discuss our impact attacks and ride-by attacks. One more. Okay. So we'll move Bork out here. We're going to talk about casters, cavalry casters, in just a moment, because there's some really cool things you can do with cavalry casters that you can't do with a normal caster. So we'll have to talk about those. So on deployment, I almost always put cavalry a little bit off to the side. There's one of the things that they can do that other units cannot do, and that's the just advantage of speed. So, let's give it a little bit of an example. So NIS are sort of a different animal as well, but let's pretend I went second. Okay, so my cavalry unit is 10 inches onto the board. And these are one of the slower cavalry units in the game. They are speed 7. But because they have reach, which is not common on speed 7 units, for example, the NIS here, the one unit I can think off the top of my head that does have reach would be the Styxis Raiders. But Styxis Raiders can do ride-by attacks. They don't have 5 wounds or 8 wounds in the case of these guys, and they don't hit even half as hard as this cavalry unit does. So for example, I line up all my stuff in the center. Cavalry unit allows me to kind of open up my deployment a little bit because they can be on the side, because first turn these guys run 14 inches, they are to the center line if you went second. If you're not, they're 3 inches off the center line. And this is one of the slowest cavalry units in the game. Okay, most of them are speed 8, some of them are speed 9. So just give you an example. So normally if I'm going first, I'll run them full speed. I'll usually leave the unit leader back a little bit, maybe put 2 or 3 up front, leave one guy out here. My goal is to minimize the amount of attack points that I guess my opponent can put on me. So if my opponent is pretty central on the board, and I come in from one side of the table, okay, he's got a unit over here I do damage to this unit, and there's only so many models that he can bring back in onto my cavalry unit. Now, if I do that from the front, which I see some people do, okay, let's say I come in, I kill some models up front, my cav unit is right up the middle, you know, put the unit leader back here. Okay, so now I've killed these models in front, but now there's another row that's going to come in and just remove my cavalry unit. So there's multiple advantages to coming in from the side with the cavalry unit. They're fast enough to do it, even in trolls, and they can sort of sandpaper off an edge and then remain protected. So the one that's going to be the most danger is usually the one that is closest to the center, this one on the end. Okay, so that's just general cavalry tactics. I mean, you can obviously run them up the center, but you probably need some other things to protect them, whether it's terrain or iron flesh or arcane shield or whatever it is. Then they're instead of being a flanking unit like I'm playing them here, then they're your centerpiece. They become your tarpet unit almost, and they're awfully expensive for a tarpet, so you better hope they don't die.
It's kind of hard to control.
Okay, so let's talk about impact attacks, ride-by attacks, and other things. We'll talk about tall in the saddle a little bit as well.
Good game.
So let's start with impact attacks. So let's say that this cavalry unit, I've ran it up. It's like this. You know, I've got the Nis kind of spread out, and Selena sort of in the middle. Okay, so they're spread out like they normally would. You know, I don't have a good angle on Selena normally. You know, she's in range. She's the one I want to kill. I want to remove CRA from the unit, but I can't get to her normally. If we take impact attacks off the table, especially if this one was moved in just a little bit. If we take impact attacks off the table, I have no way to get to Selena. Okay, I could potentially try to slam here, but I've got to go straight, so I'm pretty sure it misses. Slam there, it's going to miss. I could come in here and slam. I might get her if I get far enough, but I can do a lot better, especially if Horthel's on the table and these guys have boosted impact attacks. So in this particular matchup with these guys versus these guys, the troll long riders love high defense. They can handle it pretty well if they have line breaker on the table. So in my example where I'm trying to get to Selena, I'm going to declare a charge attack. Okay, then we're going to do an impact attack, and you can't do multiple impact attacks. I see some people that are new to cavalry try to do that. You only get one round of impact attacks. The model must move at least 3 inches, and then you stop and hit everything within. It stops in base to base with the model, and you hit everything within a quarter or within a half inch. Okay, so let's pretend that I'm going to declare a charge attack. This model is going to charge Selena, who's this model right back here. Okay, and I'm going to have this guy go directly at her, and I'll stop right there when I touch this model. I get to make impact attacks on both models. Okay, now the downside to doing it this way is that I'm in a situation where I've touched this model with my base, so I'm touching it, so I cannot go any farther forward without touching it some more. And this model is also going to be in my charge lane from the direction I went. So in this case, I've chosen 2 models to make impact attacks on because I hit this model on this side, put this model within a half inch. If I miss one of them, my charge is probably going to fail. So let's pretend I didn't bring any dice. It doesn't matter. Dice are sort of unimportant for all of these tactics. So let's say roll my line breaker attack. I kill this model. Okay, I move, or I go on attack on this model and I miss. I continue my charge attack and I actually go to there and hit this model, and I miss my 2-inch charge reach, which is right there, and I don't get into melee range. My charge fails because my movement stopped here and my target was not in my melee. So that's a little bit riskier choice. Okay, but let's say I really want Selena dead. Okay, so what I'm going to do is something a little different. Instead, I'm going to choose this model first. We're going to charge Selena, and we're just going to go and we're going to hit here. Okay, we'll do our impact attack because that happens during movement. Okay, you don't move all of them to impact attack range, make your impact attacks, and then move them. Okay, this happens during movement, the impact attacks do, so he had to move at least 3 inches, make my impact attack. Chances are good that I'm going to hit. Okay, so that one dies. Continue on my charge attack to there. Okay, and then I can do the same thing over here, or let's say that failed. I still have a second option. This guy, because he's got reach, he can charge out to here. So we'll choose to do a charge. We'll go to there. I guess I should have probably measured to make sure that I've got range, but 10 inches easily takes me far enough. Do my impact attack there. If I fail, I stop here, but I still got a guy to Selena. Okay, if I do what I did before and have this guy in the middle, I start getting sometimes in the way. So you have to measure. Are you greedy? Do you want to get both impact attacks, or do you need to get a target that's very important? If you get greedy, a lot of times you'll end up with bad dice at one point, and your model's going to charge. Model's charge is going to fail, and then you're going to start blaming dice and say, well, that should have happened or whatever. No, that was a mistake in tactics. You needed to choose which was the more important target. If Selena is the more important target, don't leave it up to multiple dice. Put multiple models on target, and then you're going to have 2 impact attacks. One of them may fail, but in this case, it doesn't matter if one of them fails. So if you're trying to maximize the number of models you kill, then that's when you're going to want to come in on these models. Let's say I charge Selena here, come here and do impact attacks on both of them. Okay, same thing. This model can charge that model back there. I can come in at this angle, stop when I hit there, make an attack on both of those, and then I'd be continuing on to there. Okay, so that's impact attacks. Impact attacks happen after 3 inches. They can only happen once during the charge, and then at the end you continue moving and you resolve each one individually because impact attacks happen during movement. So I've mentioned it before, I think probably even on one of these Q&As. Because impact attacks happen during movement, you can make impact attacks on a model with admonition, and it's not going to be able to move away because you haven't finished your movement. Okay. Also works with ride-by attacks. Okay. However, impact attacks don't happen during your combat action, so there's a little bit of difference in the movement that's going to happen here. Anyway, so to continue on, to maximize the number of impact attacks you're going to get, even if they spread their models out, if you're good with placement and choosing your charge targets, you can have that guy hit there, make impact attacks on those 2 guys. You can come in, and especially if you've got a way to increase their hits, impact attacks can kill a whole lot of models. So in this example, if I roll well, or if I give them, say, Warcry plus Line Breaker, they have a really good chance of hitting all those models. And because the Trollblood Cavalry models are POW 14 on their mount, they're going to auto-kill all these NIS. So in this particular case, I'm going to kill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before I get to my charge attacks. Okay. And charge attacks are almost certainly going to hit. And this is against a defense 15 unit, but these guys are mat 7. Warcry would have made a mat 9. Cavalry charge makes them mat 11. So I need 4s to hit those 3 guys. So in this particular case, my opponent overcommitted. I sent only 3 models in. These 2 are just going to stay back. And I'm going to kill 8 models out of that unit. That is living the dream. That is not normally how it happens. But this is something you can do. Okay? So that's impact attacks are very important. You spent too much on these models to not get impact attacks out of them. A lot of times if you have a model like this, you're a lot more willing to take multiple impact attacks. So if I go here, let's say I go and hit here, try to take my 2 impact attacks, my charge target is in my range. Okay, so now I turn to him. Even if I failed to kill both these models with my impact attacks, my movement stopped where I was in melee range with my target. So I continue on with my charge attack. Okay, so I would take my charge attack there. The whole point is that I need to get more attacks out of my cavalry unit than I do a normal unit. If you don't, you're wasting points. Okay, so a lot of times choosing a charge target that is close enough to the impact targets that you can guarantee you still get your charge attack is worth it. So another thing you can do, let's say you've really got to get a model dead. Okay, this guy's really got to die. So I'm going to charge him. Okay, I'm going to move to base. I'm then going to do my impact attacks. Then I'm going to finish movement. If I fail to kill him, I would turn towards him, and then I would resolve my charge attack. So you can take an impact attack on your charge target. The only thing you need to be careful of is if you kill your impact or your charge target with an impact attack, your model did not finish its movement in melee range with your target, and he will continue moving forward. So in this particular case, let's pretend that I'm going to charge this model. Okay, he'll move 6 inches to get into base to base, stop. Okay, he has not ended his movement yet. He's only moved 6 inches. He's making an impact attack on his charge target. Let's say he hits and kills. Okay, so he is not in his movement. His charge target is not in his melee range, so he's going to continue on trying to get into melee. So he continues along the path. He moves a total of 10 inches, so 4 more, and he goes to there, and then he stops and fails his charge because his charge target did not end with his melee range, with his charge target in his melee range. Okay, so that's something you have to be careful of, because sometimes, for example, if in this case, let's say, these guys charged here and I kept this guy back and I did him last, now he's out of command. Okay, so I've just sent that guy out of command. Now I'm not going to be able to put War Cry on these next turn unless they kill him, and I hope they do now. You just have to be really careful. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes, with solos like the Dracoon and other things, you want to do an impact attack. So you get the impact attack, kill the target model you want to kill, and then be able to move even deeper into their lines. Sometimes it's an advantage. So you need to be able to use that to your advantage. Okay, so that's impact attacks. Let's talk a little bit about ride-by attacks. So one of the things that light cav have, heavy cav do not, is the light cav movement, and the heavy cav get ride-by attacks instead. So one of the things you can do is you can maximize the distance between them. That's why cavalry units are so important on how you use their movement. So let's say that this cavalry unit moved in last turn and they killed some Nis, and I spread them out and I've got these guys in the back being protected, and then my opponent charges in, and he's got 2 Nis on that guy and 1 Nis here, and the rest of the Nis are dead or whatever. Okay, so let's say these guys are a little bit closer. Okay, so let's say I want to do a ride-by attack. So one of the benefits of the ride-by attack is I can attack where I'm at and then back out or gain additional distance. So if this is the front row of the opponent's troops and they are already engaging you, you can declare a ride-by attack. This guy moves 0, moves 0. This guy could move, say, he only needs to go 2. And he could be in melee range of that guy, and this guy could go 3. And this guy could go 4. Okay. So then you make your melee attacks. This one would attack here, potentially kill it. This one would attack here, kill it. This one attack here, miss. This one attacks here, kills it. This one attacks there, kills that one. So now you've killed 4 guys. And then you finish your ride-by attack. And this is different than impact attacks because they all resolve their combat action at the same time. So you're going to take your partial movement with everybody in the unit. They're going to all make their combat action, and they're going to finish their movement. So this one here has 5 inches left. This one has 7 inches left. This one has 4 inches left because he moved 3. This one has 7 inches left because he only moved 0. And this one that moved 4 only has 3 inches left, but he can move back to here. So now we have not only killed their front line, but we've moved back to a situation where the cavalry unit is still threatening my opponent, but I've moved away from the fight. So, except for in this case, I actually screwed up because that's the unit leader. He needs to be there. So that's one of the things you have to be really careful with cav units, because the leader can easily get out of range. Okay, so ride-by attacks, very good for if they've engaged you, using them and then getting away or repositioning. There's a lot of ways that you can use ride-by attacks. They're better with casters, and I'll get to that in just a minute, but with any heavy cav unit, using ride-by attacks to come in, do whatever you're doing, and use the rest of it, especially if your mat is high enough that it doesn't matter whether or not you get cavalry charge, because you're not charging, you're not going to get a cavalry charge. So if their mat's high enough and their power and strength is high enough to kill their targets, then usually ride-by attacks are a better choice. So other options, ride-by attacks. Okay, I don't know why you would want to do this, but let's pretend that there's usually a better choice, but let's pretend that I want to kill this front row and then move deeper. So I'm going to declare a ride-by attack. This guy moves 6, kills this model, and then moves 1 more deeper, or whatever it happens to be. This one moves 4 to here, kills that one, moves 3 deeper. That is also an option, although I don't know why I wouldn't have just done impact attacks and charged the back row. Okay, so let's talk about tall in the saddle. So I'm going to pull it up because tall in the saddle is one of those rules that has some pretty specific wording on it. So cavalry models, they ignore intervening models with smaller bases than their own when making melee attacks. Okay. So that's tall in the saddle, but we're going to add it to cavalry charge because there's part of cavalry charge that's very key on that. So cavalry charge, a charge made by a cavalry model differs in several ways from a standard charge. When declaring a charge target, cavalry models ignore intervening models with smaller bases than their own. So tall in the saddle lets me declare melee attacks against somebody that I wouldn't normally be able to see. Cavalry charge allows me to target them for a charge. So let's give an example real quick. So let's say my opponent has decided to hide Selena behind a row of 3 Nis. Okay, I want Selena dead. Okay, let's say that I know, because I've measured my control area, let's say I've measured, my caster's back here, I know that my cav unit is not in range to hit these guys with an impact attack. Okay, but I am in range to charge Selena and I want her dead. Okay, so I'm going to declare a charge attack. I'm going to declare her as my charge target. I can, even though I wouldn't normally have line of sight to her, because of cavalry charge rules, I get to ignore these models because they're my base size, or sorry, they're smaller than my base size. So I get to ignore these 2 to declare that one. I could even ignore this one to declare this one if I wanted. This hill is going to make this seem more confusing than it needs to be because that hill would give me line of sight anyway. Anyway, so let's pretend the hill's not there. I want line of sight to her. Because I'm a cavalry model, I can ignore these models, declare my charge. Okay, move my 10 inches. I come up short from being able to get those impact attacks like I talked about earlier, but I am definitely within melee range of Selena. Okay, so now, because of tall in the saddle, I can ignore these models and attack her. Those are things that you cannot do with other normal models. This is a cavalry specific rule. Okay, so tall in the saddle is a very important rule. Allows you to declare her as a charge target. Even if I was in range, I could charge, do my impact attacks. If I failed both of them, I'd still get to make my charge attack here, but I could potentially kill both of them. The reason I can even declare her as a target is because of cavalry charge and tall in the saddle. So tall in the saddle is pretty important. There's a lot of times, it's one of those rules that doesn't come up very often, and it's something that you can use tactically that you're may not be normally used to using. So that's why experience with cavalry helps, because you'll see things unlock on the table that you wouldn't normally have an opportunity to do because of cavalry rules. So I suggest that if you're going to play cavalry, you go through the cavalry rules and read them multiple times and understand ride-by attacks and how they're resolved, and impact attacks and how they're resolved, tall in the saddle and cavalry charge and how it's resolved. Okay, so there's all those things. Let's talk a little bit about a caster who is a cavalry model. So we've talked about cavalry charge and how it gives +2 to your charge attack. So that's kind of a big deal on a caster. But it's not nearly as big as ride-by attacks. Okay, so there's one thing I want to discuss really quickly. I think I said it earlier, these guys don't boost their impact attacks, they get an additional die, and that's an important thing to note, is that mount attack, this says damage rolls can be boosted. Okay, so I might be wrong on that. So I was thinking attack rolls couldn't be boosted, but apparently, let me look really quick to make sure I'm not saying something I shouldn't. It's hard to keep all these rules straight sometimes. Linebreaker does say an additional die. Okay, but anyway, attack rolls, or sorry, damage rolls on mounts cannot be boosted. I thought for sure that attack rolls couldn't be either. Either way, something you can look up later. Real quick. Oh, no, it does say mount attack and damage rolls cannot be boosted. Okay, so as a caster, taking an impact attack can sometimes be dangerous. Okay, so let's say I want to kill Selena here. Okay, I come in. Okay, Borka doesn't get line breaker, you know, and I need to kill at least this model because of the way my charge is going, or I'm going to fail my charge. Okay, I can't boost the attack roll. I only get Borka's base mat unless I did something to raise it, and I can be boosted, and I don't get cavalry charge on an impact attack. So if I fail to kill this model, my caster's activation is over. You have to be really careful with impact attacks with cavalry casters. Okay, but what you can do, okay, and this is a little more something interesting you can do with Vlad 3, but it applies here as well. Okay, so let's say I activate Borka. I'm going to do a ride-by attack. Okay, so let's say Borka moves 4 inches to there, make my melee attack here, and let's say I got a zone over here. Okay, make my melee attack there, kill it, move 4 to here, cast, let's say for some reason I've got a blitzer in my list, cast repulsion, say this model's right here, now that model gets pushed out. So I could have cast spells before movement, at the end of my movement, or at the middle of my movement for ride-by attack, and then I can cast spells again after. So for Vlad's case, you know, he could be right here, he'd cast a flashing blade before his movement, do a ride-by attack, move to here, cast another flashing, take his normal melee attack, excuse me, kill this model, move to here, end his movement, cast another flashing blade, kill this model. So that's what ride-by attacks can do for you as a caster. You know, there's a lot of times where you know, you're on a flag and you need to kill a model and get back to the flag to dominate it. So having you know, a model like this, I've got to kill all the models within 4. Let's say I activate Borka, he moves to there with a ride-by attack, so he's in range of all 3 of these models. He swings here, kills this one. I don't remember if he has combat rider, but if he did, he could take his combat rider attack here with the bear, and then he buys an attack here, and then he finishes his, you know, ride-by movement, move back to here, back onto the flag, away from a threat, and again able to dominate. So the things that you can do with a cavalry caster with ride-by attack are strong. If you have, let's say, a feat that I can't think of any off the top of my head that's on a cavalry model, but let's say Sorcia 3 rides a, you know, cavalry model, and her feat is just like our other 2 where there are pulse. You know, move part of the distance up, pop her feet, back up, get out of threat range. There's a couple of models that do that very well, such as the Archangel, the War Wagon, and the there's another battle engine that has cavalry rules. You know, move forward, take those attacks, back up. There's like Xerxes 2 is really good at moving up, the ride-by attack, taking a bunch of attacks, moving over to another location and having sprint on him and being able to move another location, just like completely move across the table. So that's the strength of cavalry models. Okay, so there is a bunch of questions that I had on Twitter.
What's the range?
Let's go to those really quick. Okay, so Davis Bailey asks me to go over the details of Assault. So I don't play any factions that really use Assault, so I'm going to have to use my rules quite a bit before we go through Assault, because it's quite possible that I'll get this wrong.
Seriously, right? Activate corollary.
Let's see. I need a unit that has Assault. Let's go with the Stormblade Infantry Officer. Okay, so Assault. This is an order, and you should be aware that jacks and beasts that have Assault, theirs works a little differently. It's worded the same, but it's not an order. It says as part of a charge, they may do it. So unlike the order Assault, where you have to declare I'm assaulting, the jack or beast just does it as part of a charge. So don't be that dick that says your opponent can't assault because he didn't declare it. I mean, I guess you could, but really, he gets his assault anytime he charges. Okay, so the Stormblade infantry, however, have to get an order. So the order says affected models must charge or run, and as part of a charge, after moving, but before making its charge attack, an affected model can make one range attack targeting the model charged unless they were in melee with each other at the start of the affected model's activation. Models that receive this order cannot make combined ranged attacks this activation. When resolving an assault range attack, the attacking model does not suffer the target in melee penalty. If the target is not in melee range after moving, the affected model must still make the range attack before its activation ends.
Just let you know that. Then you can rethink it over for a second.
Okay, so
Or no.
assault. Let's pretend that these are Stormblades. Okay.
Okay, after watching tutorials of that one video game, it gets super confusing.
And they're going to assault this Long Rider, and we're actually going to put another one.
I was just watching something.
Put one. Let me think about this. Put one there for now.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You better hope that I get one too.
start the turn.
Two.
Try
Second.
to ask myself what objectives are for the turn.
Did you get the trench?
Okay.
Okay, what the heck?
So, assaults. All models in the unit have to move first. You complete the model's movement before you're going to make any of the shots. So this model's going to assault here.
No, it's my destroyer card.
Okay. This model's going to assault there.
I didn't
This model's going to assault here. This model's going to assault this model on the left. And this model's going to assault there.
Yeah, but he can collect souls from the
Okay. So
So that whole unit's got to die.
there's some parts that I'm not a little clear on.
You have
Assault's one of those abilities that's not particularly clear on how it's resolved sometimes. So, anyway, I'm going to make a range attack here. Okay, I've ended my movement, so let's say that this first range attack rolls wild dice and kills this model. Okay, if there were alternative melee targets for these guys, they could take them. Okay, their charge didn't fail, they finished their movement. Okay. However, one of the things that Davis said to me on Twitter makes me wonder if I've been doing it wrong for a long time.
Looking at a review for it online, I really don't like what they did to it.
What they do?
Turned it into a spurs.
He's saying that if you charge here, successfully charge. Let's see, what is he saying?
Then, I'm happy for that because then I get to add
Oh, I think I understand what he's saying.
Holding it that way.
That's different. These all succeed. Let's do it a little differently. And I'm not sure that I'm not even certain that this is right, guys. So don't trust me on this. But he's saying that he was told, and I trust the source, and I'm pretty sure that this is correct. If these guys are Stormblades and they're assaulting this guy back here, and this one assaults, and he gets to here, doesn't engage this target, but is engaged by here, he won't be able to make the range attack here. And I believe that is correct. So you have to be careful. So when you charge and you're trying to get extra range on your assault, at the end of your assault, you need to be open, or not engaged by anything else so that you can make the shot, or you need to be engaging your target to be able to make the shot. So one more thing that I see a lot of people do, and it's kind of annoying, is, so let's say these guys are out of range, okay, and they're going to assault this guy, and all of them are going to assault, okay. Let's say this guy's going to assault, he's a Stormblade, so he goes 8 inches, he's going to assault there, okay. He had to charge in a direction that if he had infinite movement, that he would end melee with here. So I see people do this all the time. So this guy's going to charge that target, and he goes, okay, he's going to assault to here. Okay, that was not a legal assault because no matter how far he goes, he will never be in melee with that guy.
If you do that,
So Assaults don't work any differently than charges. They have to go towards their target. Okay, I see it happen a lot with Stormblades because people use them because they hit so hard even on assaults that they want to like spread out and get as close as they possibly can, and that's just not legal. They have to charge directly towards the model. So one of the things you can do to keep your guys at max range with assault is have the first guy run. So let's say this is my Stormblade, I'm charging there, and let's say I'm in charge range, but I don't want to be in charge range because I don't want my Stormblades up there. Say the rest of this unit is all back ready to charge in. Okay, so this guy's going to run first. Okay, he's going to run to here. Okay, so this guy's going to assault. He'll move to there. Okay, didn't get far enough, but he's in range of his assault shot. Okay, so he declared him. He moved. Now he's going to make his assault shot because he didn't get in melee range. This one's going to assault. He'll also end on this guy. Chose a path that makes me fail there. This guy's going to do the same thing and go that direction. Fail there. This one's going to come out at this angle, but he's going to clip right there and fail. Now all these guys make their assault shots there. They failed their charges, so their activation ends after they make their assault shots. But instead of being, you know, up here where they're going to get retaliated upon, they use their own model to block their charge lane so that they can get the assault shot, but not actually end up where they would be, because you can't stop a charge short normally. Additionally, if for some reason I think I already said this, but if someone else kills your assault target, you can redirect your melee attack if you ended your movement, but you're not going to be able to take a different assault target shot. You don't get to take any more shots. If anybody has any additional questions about assault, go ahead and put them in the chat.
Or maybe his brother
So
is here.
Maybe his brother dropped some of the stuff up and help.
the downside to that
Maybe he's out of sleep.
is there's speed 5, right?
Yeah.
So
I just made
if
it simple and said you were
you
out.
assault, you're going to go your full weight in,
Okay, so let's take a look here.
which I'm trying to
A model that has to move towards another model, if it starts in base contact, can it move around? Oh, you guys are moving my chat on me. Can it move around to the other side of the model, i.e. leash move on Veil? Leash move is not... so if you start in base-to-base contact, so I'm assuming you mean, so this, let's pretend this is Veil, and this is her Legion Warbeast, this Warhog. Okay, so I'm assuming you mean Veil is here, she moves to base here, and you're asking can he move over to here? That would be no. Okay. However, it's not difficult to do that differently. So let's pretend he's up here. Veil is going to activate. Veil is going to advance. She's not going to end in base to base, but she's going to end, that's an 1/8 of an inch away. Okay, so now they're not in base to base, but this model can move towards. So he's going to move an inch that way and get closer. He's going to move an inch this way. He's going to get closer, and then he's going to go an inch this way, and he's going to end in base to base with the Veil. So he got closer during every single part of that movement. That is legal. That is a leash move that is totally legal. Okay, but if he starts in base to base, there is no path which gets him closer to Veil. He's already as close as he can possibly get. Okay, that is toward. Okay, so toward lets you rotate around things. Toward lets you do a lot of things. Directly toward obviously does not. So I guess the answer to your question is, the way you worded it is no, you cannot do that. However, can you do it slightly different and make it work? Absolutely.
You know how to do that. It's pretty much a bunch of teeth. You drop the steak in and it munches it, tenderizes it.
Okay.
Are you deployed?
Is there lesser known tech for hitting stealth models greater than 5 inches away? Yes, there is. There's plenty of ways to hit models that are farther than 5 inches away. The biggest way is two-handed throws. So two-handed throws are a melee attack. I shouldn't say they're a melee attack. They're sort of an untyped attack roll. But they're not a ranged attack, and they're not a magic attack, which is the two things that stealth works on. So, for example, let's pretend this Warhog is a mauler. let's pretend that this Styxus Raider is Gorman to Wolf. And let's pretend that this guy here, let's back him up a little bit. I'll measure this out just so you guys can see the distances involved. Okay. So let's pretend that this is a Mauler. We can actually make this even farther. So let's pretend that this is a Mauler. This is a Fen Blade, and that's Gorman. Okay. So we activate the stone first. We give +1 strength. We activate a Axer, who gives +2 speed with rush to the Mauler. The Mauler activates. He moves 7 inches because he has rush. When he gets to the end of his rush, he's going to cast Rage on himself. So now he's at strength 16 total, 12 base, +1 from the stone, +3 from rage. Okay. Then he's going to declare a 2-handed throw on this Fen Blade. You're going to boost the attack roll because you don't want to miss it. So now you got 4 focus on him. Okay. You're going to hit. There'll be a 2-die strength check here versus 1 die, which he cannot win. He's strength 6, I believe, and he's strength 16, as I already declared. So the highest he could possibly get is a 12. His minimum is 18. So he's automatically going to win. He then declares Gorman as his 2-handed throw target. Okay, Gorman stealth doesn't matter because this is not a ranged attack or a magic attack. So then we're going to make an attack roll. If he hits, which he'll boost with his last Fury, this model would travel 8 inches, which is half of his strength of 16. So 8 inches would go from there to there. Hit Gorman. Gorman would take a POW 16, which he cannot survive, and then Gorman would die. This model would probably also die or get a tough check. He would not take an additional die because Gorman was a smaller base. But yes, I have done that in the past. Jay does it all the time. It is one of the best ways to kill a stealth model. So, great tech.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so next question.
Walk.
Yep.
No, that's
I should say that Gargantuans do that even better than Maulers and Earthborns and Bronzebacks and all these other things that can't get to very high strength. I mean, like, the Conquest is one of the best 2-handed throwers and slammers, power strikers in the game. Like, so, little tech secret here. I don't normally recommend taking Assault Commandos. One of the guys here local in the shop came up with this, and it's really good. He takes Assault Commandos. He takes the UA. So you got a Flamethrower guy, moves the Flamethrower guy up. He then has the Conquest move up. He either throws or power strikes. The Flamethrower guy usually throws, so he's going to go over a bunch of stuff usually, and the Flamethrower guy is going to land, the Conquest is strength 18, so you get +1 inch because he's a smaller base, so you're going to be able to throw a guy who blows up in a POW 14 4 or 5 inch AoE, I can't remember which, that causes fire to everything, and if he hits the model, so let's say with a heavy beast or heavy jack, they have to be within a ½ inch, even if you have reach, because your melee attack range for power attacks is always ½ inch. But colossals have a 2-inch range. So I don't have a colossal here to show you. Well, pretend this is a colossal for a moment, and we're going to use this. So this is the Flamethrower guy. He moves out to 2 inches away. Okay, so 2 inches out, and then he's going to throw that Flamethrower guy, and that Flamethrower guy can go 9 inches from the strength of the Conquest, +1 inch because he's a smaller base, so 10 inches away. Okay, so let's pretend your caster is standing back here, who was originally, let's say you went 4 inches back. Originally your caster was, say, 17 or 18 inches away from Conquest. Okay, so Conquest moves up. Maybe he had superiority or something and he move even farther. You take this guy, the Flamethrower guy, you pick him up, you throw him there, he goes 10 inches. If he hits, okay, your opponent takes a POW 18 damage roll from the collateral damage, and then takes a POW 14 damage roll from the blowing up Assault Commando Flamethrower guy and their casters on fire. I've seen him kill multiple people with that. So there you go. That's your own personal tech for Khador players.
Quick question for you.
Man, that's close. What sucks?
Ground sound, especially if they
Well,
were
let's get
marked,
marked.
so that might be able to get increased.
I think it's probably. So holy shit, it's close.
Okay, so let's go on to the next question.
Yes, this says that while completely disqualified the model and this was page guys. So with ground.
Okay, so someone here has found a clarification.
Hey, I can say, I see,
And the rule is, so either someone told the Davis Bailey wrong or whatever, but even if you end in melee, so let's go back, I apologize, I'm going to go back to assault because I don't want to send this information out incorrectly. So the example I had before, this model's assaulting there, I assault 8 inches, end in melee here, take my assault shot here, that is totally legal. This model ignores all in melee as long as it can make the assault shot as long as it didn't start its activation engaged with that guy. Okay, so I mean, with that in mind, this is legal. Okay, so this guy's engaged here, he declares an assault shot there, he moves 3 inches to there, stays in melee the whole range there, and takes his shot there. Seems a little cheesy, but totally legal. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Multiple people have asked, you have to move 3 inches for an assault shot. There is nothing in an assault shot that says you must make 3-inch move. So I'm going to read it to you guys again because I'm getting questions about it and I want to make sure you guys understand it. Affected models must charge or run as part of a charge after moving but before making its charge attack. An affected model can make one range attack targeting the model charged. Okay, there's nothing requiring you to complete your 3-inch movement. Okay, if you're at 2 inches out and you charge this model, move directly towards him, okay, that's part of a charge. Before moving and before making a potential charge attack, which you're not going to get because you didn't move 3, you're going to make your assault shot. Okay, there is nothing in assault, you can read through it multiple times, that requires you to move any amount of distance. Okay, so just so that's clear. So the next question is, what is the best way to space a ranged unit behind a wall, say NIS or gun mages? So here's a wall. This question really depends on your opponent. Okay, does your opponent have AoEs? If yes, then ignore the wall for the most part, and you're going to probably put 2 up like that, and you're just going to spread out, and you're going to make distance your advantage. So this is a ranged unit. Where's Selena? Where'd I put her? Where'd she go? There she is. Okay, she's going to stay in the middle because she needs to be able to be in range of everybody. You know, we're going to keep these guys back so that range is our friend. Okay, these guys are up here on the wall, probably over just in a little bit. So that they get the benefit of not being able to get around them. You want to give them the defense bonus against melee, keep non-reach targets from being able to get to them, and you want to be able to threaten the other side of the board. So that's what you do if they've got AoE attacks and they're willing to take them. If you think they're not willing to take AoE attacks on your models, there's really no reason not to just put 4 guys on a wall. If you're shooting at a I've done this before. If you're shooting at a larger model that you can see through your own models, there's no reason not to do that. I mean, people get too used to spreading out all their stuff when they don't necessarily need to. So you don't want to do that if your opponent has an AoE. You don't want to. Selena keeps disappearing on me. There she is. You have to be careful. You don't want to do this if your opponent has a hill and they're going to try to kill Selena, and they get a hill, they get a medium base model with a range attack, or even a small base model, because these guys are small base. You know, I'm up here, I'm going to be able to take a shot at Selena. Okay, so that's not good. You would have rather just had her back here. The distance is what's more important. So it really depends on what your opponent's tools are to be able to attack your unit, about how many you're willing to put up on a wall are up on a hill. I mean, this hill's a good example. I mean, there are times when I have basically lined the hill because my opponent had no AoEs and no melee targets that are going to move in. There's really nothing keeping me from doing
So
that.
then you can do this individually.
Okay.
The counter turns.
Next question was, does the Cador dog defense bonus affect a caster on a two-handed throw? No, it does not.
Yeah.
That I probably need to put in the, well, I'll probably need to cancel focus in.
Okay, so let's cover another question asked by a Patreon subscriber. They asked me,
Okay.
he asked he'd like to see how to unpack a large amount of medium-based infantry from your deployment zone infantry, Trollblood infantry list, while still keeping units useful for later turns. And somebody else asked for an all trolls episode. So let's talk about trolls for a little bit. Trolls was my first hordes faction. Spent many years pulling my hair out trying to figure out how to unpack my troll list. I'd come from Crix, where I could deploy across the entire side of the board. That was my first faction ever. And I picked up trolls. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this is P Madrak. We're going to talk about the Madrak brick, because this is where everybody usually starts. They buy their Madrak box set. I'm just going to deploy them out here at 12 inches out, and we're going to, which is farther than what you normally would. But I'm going to have Janissa in my list. I'm going to have a wall out here. I'm going to pretend that these Fen Blades are actually warders.
No matter what.
Okay, so we got 5 warders here. Okay, and I'm going to set those on 2 sides, because they're going to be able, I want Madrak as far forward as I can, because a brick needs to get up the table, and one of the issues it has is that it wants to stay together, and that if I don't have Madrak on the front line, that means he's going to be, an inch and a half farther back, which is, it doesn't sound like much, but mid-game it's a lot. Okay, so I'm going to pretend that this sorcerer is my Krellstone, which I'm actually going to put just off to the side. And then we're going to pretend that this Ogrenbow Cur here is going to play the part of Janissa. Okay, so we've got stuff back here. We've probably got some more units in here. Beasts. There's probably a beast in here and a beast in here. We'll use my Roadhogs, 2 of the models that I have actually painted. I'm going to turn them around because they're horrible. They're like bronze specs. Okay, so this is the basic brick that you're going to learn when you first pick up trolls. Okay, so let's pretend you go first. Your warders are going to run. I would probably see that guy, Janissa. I might actually deploy Janissa on the front line. Sort of depends. Okay, so stone up here, whatever else you got in here. Probably gonna have, I thought I grabbed a fell collar. I didn't. Okay, so fell collar probably gonna be in here somewhere. Okay, so we're gonna activate the warders, which look like Fen Blades today. Warders are gonna run 8. Okay, I'm probably gonna rotate the end guy. Actually, I would have done it differently. This first guy would have ran up here, and this last guy would have pretended he was the end, and he would have rotated around a little bit behind. This guy's gonna run 8.
Then he declares assault first.
Okay, this guy's going to run 8. This guy's going to rotate just a little bit behind the back row. Okay, so now Madrak's going to drop Fury into the stone. He's going to charge an enemy model so that he gets full 8 inches up.
Or does it go each time?
He's going to cast whatever he needs to, Surefoot on himself probably in this particular case, and he'll end right there. Okay, he's in base to base with that guy. He moved 8 inches, or he didn't even move his full 8 inches because the back of that guy is less than 8. But he got his full movement. He got his control area up here, so he's threatening out to here with his feet, and he's got Surefoot on all of the warders. Okay, so now Janissa's going to go. She's going to move 5 up behind him, and then she's going to drop a wall right there in front of the warders. Okay, so now we got sure-footed warders behind a wall, and then the stone is going to give the aura, and this model is going to run up into here, and I'm going to try to leave a little bit of room, okay, just in case my caster needs to come through here. And then the rest of the guys are going to run. My fell collar is going to run. My beasts are going to run, and they're going to stay under the aura. Okay, they might be. I might put him right here, put that beast up there. So now I've developed my brick, okay? So sometimes this can be very difficult to deal with as a player, is figuring out how do I go on turn after turn after turn like this. Some of the things you need to understand is that sometimes you're not going to get carnage on these guys, okay? He's not going to be able to activate first and put carnage out. Sometimes you just have to activate row by row by row and just deal with it, okay? So in this particular case, that's why I have a fell collar in the list. I probably wouldn't actually take a fell collar with PMADRAC, but whatever. I played a lot of bricks and they're all different, but they all unfold the same way. So fell collar might, you know, move over, work right here through this gap, and then these guys would charge out, and then the caster moves up or whatever. But you know, a lot of times it's going to be a lot of doing the same thing, moving slowly. So 4 inches up, 4 inches up, take some melee attacks. I don't need charges against my opponents. Move there. My Surefoot model moves up. You know, Janissa moves up. Wall gets dropped. The brick just moves forward, okay? You have to be a little patient. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of work to kind of figure out how to unpack the brick. Okay, take some time to realize that you're not going to be able to do all the things that you could have done with your previous faction where you weren't playing a brick. Okay, the brick has some advantages though. So in this particular case, I can stack so many buffs on these guys. You know, we've got Surefoot, Wall, and Janissa is in a place that is incredibly hard to get to. You know, I'm assuming that this beast would probably run into base to base. So now we've got a sure-footed beast behind sure-footed warders that have, I'm probably even going to turn this guy, this warder, this way. I don't want to put anything in my back arc, but I want to make sure that guys are not going to be able to charge past me to get to the beast. So a lot of times facing is fairly important, on the especially on the ends of your brick, to keep people from getting past you. But I mean, you got a sure-footed beast with stone aura, and you're not going to be able to get to the stone. You're not going to be able to get to my fell collar. You're not going to be able to get to Janissa. You have to take your attacks on warders and beasts with fairly high armor. The downside of this is if I'm playing 2 zones, okay, those are not in the right spots, but they're this scenario, they are 8 inches apart. Okay, so let's pretend we're playing outflank. Okay, this is not 50 points obviously, but you can see that it can be very difficult to cover both. Okay, you can commit to one. You know, you put 2 warders and your beast in that one, and still be towards this zone. Okay, so now I've got control of this zone, but I can't do anything about this one, not with this particular lineup. I almost have to send 2 warders over here with a beast behind them, whoops, into that zone, while this rotates over, and I need to get a little deeper into this zone because I've got to get enough models into it to protect it. Get this wall set up, you know, and now I have my casters over here. Janissa's over here, fell collar's probably over here as well, stone's over here, and I got my aura big enough to cover those. You know, that's what I'm forced to do. And the problem is that now my opponent can come in, all these nice juicy center parts that I was protecting before are now out in the open. The other disadvantage is that if I get far enough to the table, let's say I'm playing, you know, these warders are all lined up in one big line and still not long enough to get. Okay, so let's say I've got, this is easier with Satrati because Satrati have 6 in the unit. So let's pretend this is Satrati for just a second. Okay, so shield walled, defenders warded Satrati. I've got guys in each zone. The problem here is, if I'm still trying to protect my squishy center, now my opponent, to clear out the zone, really all he has to do is kill these models on the end. It's not particularly difficult. It's a lot harder to deal with the whole unit. If all they've got to do is focus fire on one model, kill that guy, now they've got that zone. That's part of the problem with the brick. So you really, with a shield wall unit in particular, I talked about this in previous QA, you need to kind of line them up like that and let the squishy parts of the brick stay just farther back. So anyway, trolls. Unpacking medium model lists. You just have to understand that medium-based units take a larger portion of the table. You can't play them the same distance as you did before. They need to be spread out. And sometimes the back row has to just be slower. So let's pretend this is my curlstone again. Got my beast back here. One of the things that I never did, I don't do out in my other factions that I did all the time in Trolls, was I deployed my beasts off the front row. Okay, there was just, I don't need them to get there first. They don't need to be far enough forward. Troll beasts are fast enough that they can get there when they need to. A lot of times I didn't have them on the front row. Okay, but when I activate, let's say these really are Fen Blades. Fen Blades, great unit. They can spread way out because of their unit leader and because of this guy. Okay, so they run, spread out. You just, I'm going to spread them out like this. Okay, so just scale up your spreading out. Okay, so this looks just like a normal unit. However, if I were to remove those models and make them small base models, it would look a little absurd. You guys would be like, wow, that's a lot farther apart.
So 9 inches.
Are you going to start with these two, or is he not going to go through the correct area?
So that's not normally how you would spread out your small base unit. Normally that would be a little too spread out. In fact, because of the edge of the base of the leader and the back of the base of the front guy, you're in command. Here, this unit's not even close. I lost basically a full 1.5 inches. It's not that much, but my point is that you can spread them out more because they have a farther, they're closer to each other on the edge of their bases. Okay, so that wasn't even my leader anyway, or this was. But still the point is this guy's out of command, whereas on a medium base unit, he's not out of command. So that is one of the lessons that took me a while to figure out. Additionally, some things about medium base models. Let me leave these out. So in this particular case, let's pretend these guys are, small base Fen Blade unit that doesn't exist. Let's pretend they did. So they have reach. If I kill this one, now all that space in between here is open for charges that can go deep in. If I have those as Fen Blades instead, okay, Fen Blades are much better at protecting a larger distance just because of their base size. It doesn't seem like much, but it starts adding up on the table. So now if this guy dies, I've got 2 inches to here, 2 inches to there. I've basically cut off 20 millimeters, if I want to get specific, of space in between them just because I'm on medium bases, if I'm at the same distance that a small base unit is. So a lot of the part about playing Trolls is figuring out how to place your unit so that your medium bases block off charges, block off tramples. A lot of your medium base stuff is just going to help you deny target locations to your opponent. So I don't know how to explain how to do it other than you just have to spend some time on the table with Trolls and realize that you have some of these advantages.
Oh, that's off 2.
Okay, so let's see. Not sure. Okay, we are about out of time, but I'm going to take one more question. And the question I'm going to approach here is, guy in chat asks, I'm relatively new to Warma Hordes, and I've got a charity tournament coming up that's got time turns. Any tips on how to play quickly? For example, activating units, knowing which attacks you must make, etc. So my first tip is not going to be about knowing the table, it's actually going to be about practice. So in anticipation to a timed event, I would get out your timer, and I would not use chess clocks, I would use a kitchen timer, and I would play time turns, not chess clock time, and I would set it to probably 2 minutes short of what your normal time would be. So for example, if you're playing 50 points, the normal time in the Steamroller packet is 10 minutes. So I would practice at 8 minutes And I would practice it 8 minutes over and over and over again until it feels comfortable to you. And then when you go to the event, 10 minutes is going to feel like a dream.
Can you move the short shot?
However, let's pretend that you've done that. You still want some tactical tips on how to activate everything quickly. So,
Got my own, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
as a newer player, I think you should probably worry less about what you're trying to accomplish and worry more about just doing quality things. So, I believe it was Voltaire said that perfect is the enemy of good.
I told her I put a sticker that said I used
Maybe not. I don't really remember. Maybe someone else said it. Who knows? So, for example, let's pretend that, I need to activate all these models. Normally it would be best if, my caster went first and did this, whatever. But really, during my opponent's turn, he's going to be doing things. I need to be creating a plan. So let's pretend that I have these. My opponent's playing this. He's got them up here. They just moved up and they're taking shots. And there's a wall here.
Do you have Heroes by any chance?
And let's say these guys take shots, and in my head, as he's taking these shots, I'm thinking, okay, this model's going to charge there, this model's going to charge here, this model's going to charge here, this model's going to run over to this zone, this model's going to run over to the zone. And he's still activating models, still doing things, and I'm listening to what he's saying, and I'm responding to him. He asks me what the defense on my Fenblades is, and I say 12. And he keeps, he takes his shots, and I make my tough rolls, but I'm still thinking about what's going to happen. I mean, really, the engagement that's going to be required by me on his turn is pretty minimal overall. So I'm going to be thinking about what I'm going to be doing, and I'm crafting a plan while his turn is going, okay? So let's say he's playing Kador, he gets done, these guys Zephyr back behind the wall. Okay, so now I'm thinking, while he's still activating, he's still doing stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I shouldn't be trying to charge these guys because I'm not going to be able to get past the wall, I'm not going to be able to get melee attacks, I'm not going to be able to hit those models, not even with Warcry. My Mat 8 is, maybe I'll have to cast Carnage and Warcry, and then I could potentially be in good shape to be able to make it consistent.
Oh, wait. Oh.
Okay? But then he runs his Ulans over here. And he just ran them. Who knows why? He's got some plan. No one knows what it is. The Ulans ran. Okay, I immediately changed my plan to my Fenblades are charging those Ulans. Okay, on his turn. He's still activating, he's still making attacks, he's still running models, but I'm constantly changing my plan according to what he's done. Okay, and then when it comes to my turn, I know, okay, these guys are going to charge those Ulans. I'm going to move this guy, he's going to get Warcry. These guys are going to charge. This guy's going to charge. Try to make your movements still clean, even though you're trying to be quick. But declare quickly, move quickly, be precise, and then roll your dice. And one of the most important things you need to know on your turn is stats when it comes to time. So I need to know that these guys are Mat 6 plus 2 makes Mat 8. Ulans are defense 13. I need 5s. Okay, be quick with math. Okay, I know that for some people that's difficult and it's not something they're practiced with and it's something that comes with experience, but I can't, there's nothing I can say that's going to make it any better. Most of the people I see time out that are not playing a slow list or not technically playing slow, it's because they don't know their own stuff well enough, okay, or they don't remember. So in this example, I would say, okay, I know my own stuff. These guys are Mat 6. This is plus 2, Mat 8. But I don't know what Ulan's defense is. So I ask my opponent, what's your defense on these models? And he says, they're 13, okay? I roll my first one, and then for some reason, instead of thinking, I need 5s to hit, he said, okay, well, he did the math. I'm Mat 8, he's 13, I need a 5 to hit. You roll it, and you go on to the next one. A lot of people are thinking, okay, so Mat 8 against defense, what was it again? And they end up asking their opponent multiple times, what was that defense? Just, okay, set that math up. Okay, need 5s, and then everything goes off of that math. So let's say this wall's over here, and this guy's here, and another Fenblade charged here, okay? So now I've got need 5, okay? And then ask the math here on the damage roll, okay? So the Fenblade's POW 12, Ulan's not in base to base with another Ulan, so he's armor 17, dice minus 5, roll my 3 dice, add them up quickly, give my opponent the damage, move on to the next one. Need a 5, dice minus 5, need a 5, dice minus 5. Okay, remember those things and stick with them and go through them the entire unit activation. Okay, over here, like, okay, I needed a 5 before. I don't need to refigure everything. The only thing that's changed is this wall. So now my 5 went to a 7. Okay, so roll, see if I hit. Dice minus 5, damage is the same. Oh wait, no, this guy's in base to base with this guy. Okay, so now instead of dice -5, goes up to 7. Dice -7, roll the damage. I don't need to refigure it every time. I see too many people trying to refigure it every time. And that's a lot of the problem why they take too long on their turns. And that adds up. Okay, you may only take an extra 45 seconds throughout a turn doing math, but 45 seconds over 4 turns,
Want to do it again?
you know, becomes 3 minutes. 3 minutes is usually enough to lose on time. You know, a lot of times when I see people lose on time, their opponent only has 3 or 4 minutes left on the clock. So those things add up. Think about your opponent's turn on your turn, or sorry, think about your next turn on your opponent's turn. So you're doing things, ready to do things. Don't worry about doing the perfect thing. Just do what you think is the best thing and do it. Don't wait for it. Just get it done. Don't sit at the beginning of your turn in the tank for too long. I mean, sometimes it's a good idea to just say, okay, these are my options. This is the chance that they're going to happen. You know, take 30 seconds, 45 seconds at the beginning of your turn. Don't let yourself get in the tank for too long and then jump in. Just go for it. Start activating models, making your attacks, moving on to the next one.
We're back again.
Sometimes you need to lower your expectations. In a practice game, a lot of people have high expectations about what's going to happen on their turn. In a tournament game, you need to plan out a couple of things that have to happen, and then you make sure they happen, and anything that happens beyond that is gravy.
Oh, good.
You just don't have enough time to worry about making sure the turn is perfect.
Okay, I have another option.
Yeah, I know you might shoot
I
armies.
need to charge because
But then again, you didn't hit on like navigators.
I already talked about, so someone's asking about anti-cloud wall tech. I actually talked about them in previous QAs. I'm not going to go over it again. If you want to learn about those, they're available on YouTube. Please go back and take a look at the anti-cloud wall tech. I talked about it probably in depth. I can't remember which one. It was probably 2,
There's a lower chance of you.
question and answer 2. So,
that your main wall.
But you just pull out.
so someone asked me a question about, is it too deep of a question, but is there a better time to take a min unit over a max unit? That's not really a question for a tactical Q&A. If you want to send that into like the dojo or something, we can talk about that on air, but mostly what I want to talk about here is things that I can show you. That's not something that's going to work here. So I appreciate everybody watching. We're going to probably wrap it up now. We've been going for a little bit over an hour. I try to keep these to an hour, a little bit bite-sized so people on YouTube can watch them. So if you're watching this on YouTube later, join us on Twitch next time. You can follow me at www.twitch.tv/chainattacktrev, all one word. Or if you want to, support us on Patreon, our Patreon account is patreon.com/chainatacktv. So follow me on Twitch, support me on Patreon. We'll make more of these happen. If you have questions that you want to add into the Q&As, you can email me at podcast@chain-attack.com, or you can send me a direct message on Twitch, or send me a Twitter message. My Twitter account is twitter.com/chainattacktrev. So thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I'm sorry there was a little bit of confusion on Assault. It's one of those difficult abilities that I don't know very well because I don't use it that well. I don't have any factions that really use it. So I guess the Carnivian has it, but I have only taken the Carnivian once, ever. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
I think.